I don't view most of these chia forks as helpful to the project.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, The Poor Investor. Today I'm actually going to be doing a quick recap of the AMA that Chia did a couple of days back. I actually wanted to do it a little sooner, but I've actually been cutting my calories, because I'm trying to prep for the spring and summertime. So I have to cut my calories in order to kind of lose some weight, in order to get back to the shape that I was in before the pandemic. And I'll show a quick picture of what I used to look like before I started sitting at home, working from home, and not doing much. Well, now it's time to get back in shape. And the reason why, I'm cutting my calories, obviously, is to lose some body fat. But of course, this video is not about that. But in relations to why that took an effect on me, on a toll on me, on myself, is because the more calories you cut, the more, less energetic you are and not vibrant and not, very active. So I'm trying to push myself. So today I actually ate some carbs and I'm replenishing myself, and I'm not killing myself. All right. But I did want to go over a few things in the AMA that really stood out to me. You guys can probably comment below and let me know what you think of it, because I found it to be pretty interesting on some of the questions that were asked and some of the delivery on the answers to those questions, which I found pretty interesting. Now, I'm going to bring you guys over to the browser cam. Now, I already have it all set up. You can see in my comment, I said the coffee man here. I got you all. That was a comment I made on this AMA, and I put timestamps just now so I can reference it. I don't think there's a way where I can just copy and paste a timestamp, navigating through this entire play bar button, whatever it is. So let's go to the first one. It's 5.530.
So I think there's two questions hiding in there. We are absolutely aiming to have our equity be listed on either NYSE or NASDAQ here in the US. There's also a process kind of afterwards where we may very well list that equity on things like the Nikkei or the London Stock Exchange, but that'll take a little more time afterwards. If the question is global currency exchanges, the answer is already yes, and we expect that we expand that list as well.
So that was the question about the going IPO and when's that going to happen. And another second part to that question was they may even go SPAC. It's an option for them. And of course, Gene also mentioned that that's not the direction that Bram himself wants to take, because honestly, I have my fair share of experiences with SPAC. Not that I've done one. It's just that I don't know what it is that it's just all hypothetical stuff. It's not like it's concrete. There's no business behind it. It's like just people pushing it and pumping it almost. It's like a rug pull kind of a thing. Like SPACs. Oh, I learned my lesson investing in SPACs, and I'll never do it again. That's just my take.
For guidance in that, but I can say that we remain on an accelerated timeline to go public. There are two primary ways that we're likely to go public. There's actually three ways, but there's only two that I think we're likely to choose. One is with what's called a special purpose acquisition company, or SPAC. It's still an IPO. It's not an acquisition. People get confused about that. If we go that direction, it's much harder for us to do what Bram and I'd like to do to be able to get farmers in. But if we go for a more traditional S1 route.
Now, he already says that that's not the route that they would take, and they'd rather take the traditional route. So honestly, I don't think it should even be a consideration, or it should have even been mentioned or considered as an option to go public. Now, if you go SPAC, there's a lot of things that, now I don't know the technical aspect of it, but going SPAC is just like, as long as you got the money and the funding, you just put yourself out in the market and see what happens. That's how I see it. Now, there's no value or there's no company. It just doesn't seem like there is a strong backing of a corporation, of a company, when you go SPAC. And that's just my opinion. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I've invested in a few SPACs, and it's all very speculative. That's the problem that I feel with SPACs. Okay, and that's just my opinion.
We are hoping to be able to allow farmers to be able to buy shares at the offering price in the offering, and this would be with any brokerage account anywhere in the world. So it's a relatively easy way to access. We obviously cannot guarantee which one we'll be doing, just because market forces, timing, opportunity drive a lot of this. But it's certainly a factor in how we think about which ones we do.
Basically, he's just saying he doesn't know which direction the company is going to take, whatever it is. Now, he says specifically farmers will have access to buy the shares or whatever it is. At that point, when it goes IPO, it has nothing to do with farmers. It's not like we're getting an incentive to buy it really, really low. I mean, that's the company, that's the IPO. What exactly happens to XCH and all the farmers that actually have plots, like thousands of plots and terabytes and petabytes worth of data storage, all holding these chia plots? Not even related to the IPO of Chia. So that's, I mean, that's a whole different two-sided game that the company is doing and the crypto is doing. So that's just my opinion again. So let's go on to the next 9.11.
So the question is, with certain cat projects talking about putting NFTs on the chain, what and when can we expect statements from us on why this is not a good idea or a bad idea? I want to say Bram has thoughts on this. He's kind of half tweeted them a little bit, so I'll let him kind of elaborate on that. But I want to preface it with, yeah, we do have comments about it being a bad idea, but also there are things you should and shouldn't do with the technology, and there are things we'll probably give advice on, like maybe we shouldn't do that.
All right, I'm going to cut this one short because basically what they're saying, and they were focusing on a particular project that actually put NFTs on the blockchain of Chia. Now, Bram's response to that was, don't do it because you're just going to clutter everything up. You're going to have all these farmers transact all these images, huge files, mind you, all right? Because we're not just talking about one or two. We're talking about thousands upon thousands of files being transferred. And you and me or anyone else that's farming Chia and has this database, that database is going to grow tremendously and it's going to go out of hand. It will just get too much going on. Now, opposed to what they were really saying is the identifier of these files pointing back to a location that these NFTs are stored, or, you know, whatever these NFTs are, these pictures of whatever it is that you were purchasing and it's on this Chia blockchain. That's just my theory of it. Realistically, what they're trying to say is that right now there's zero fees. Okay, that's fine. You can do all you want. But when they're starting to have fees on top of that and competing on the chain to see what transaction gets done first based on how much the fees are, it's going to get pretty ridiculous in my opinion. And I kind of agree with the Chia team here. I kind of agree with Bram that it will put a damper on this whole ecosystem of Chia, because even though you can use it in that fashion, doesn't necessarily mean that you should. Now, I'm not all that into these NFTs, but, you know, whoever's doing it, you know, I'm not going to name names. I think that bombarding farmers with all this data, actual data, which makes sense in the way that, you know, if you're doing NFTs, the blockchain should be carrying and you can't manipulate it and everyone has the same information, which is fine. You know, Gene actually took a jab at this whole project, which was, you know, it is what it is. All right, so let's go on to the next one.
Anonymous is, what's the main motivation for developing Chia?
So I think Bram and I both believe that like blockchains actually can solve real problems in the world, but the current offerings had too much electricity, weren't really secure programming environments, or were illegal securities. And so you got to fix those really big three things to go build a platform that can be deployed globally to become the real.
This statement here is actually why they built Chia, was basically to knock every other crypto that's in existence right now with the high energy usage, the non-secure or less secure ways of doing certain things, and Chia is supposed to resolve all those issues. Chia is still in its infancy. We don't know of other things that can potentially happen in the future. Someone may find something to exploit it like they did with the dust storm, quote unquote. And of course, rebuttal to that is that if there were fees in place, that would not happen. All right, fair enough. Go on to the next one.
Vision storage manufacturers running pools themselves using free space on hard drives that they have sold with their own software pre-installed on the drive to make use of that space until needed.
So partially, yes. It would not surprise us at all that you'll be getting a copy of Chia when you buy a external drive or a NAS or a SAN. And then that copy of Chia in the future will be able to automatically find your free space and farm it on your behalf.
All right, this particular one hit me pretty hard. Like, that's the last thing I actually want, is a hard drive that I buy externally, whatever it is, have preloaded with crappy software. It's bad enough that they have other software in there, maybe besides the proprietary backup software or disk imaging software that Seagate or Western Digital or any of the other hard drive companies does, but to have a Chia application loaded, preloaded into this external drive that I purchased, decide to use whatever empty space that I have to farm or plot Chia. Ah, man, that should be a decision on the consumer directly, opposed to being sold with hardware or bloatware into a hard drive that I may not even want to do that. It'll be interesting to see if that actually takes place later on in the future. If buying an external hard drive all of a sudden has Chia, the GUI or whatever application loaded, and you hit a button or turn on and off through the GUI or the interface and say, I want to plot and farm Chia, make some returns on that while you're using the hard drive to store your personal information. I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point. Maybe it'll be possible if they work out a deal with these hard drive companies and they collaborate and somehow promote the whole XCH thing going forward as well. Very interesting future if that ever happens, in my opinion. All right, let's go to the next one.
Has asked, is there ever a potential scenario for combining the concepts of Torrents and Chia? Are there any at all useful synergies that haven't been discussed?
Oh man, people, everybody, please stop trying to build an automation. Really, please stop. I mean, this I beat this one to death in interviews 20 years ago, but bandwidth is very cheap. It doesn't act like a commodity. Trying to have a market for it doesn't work so well. And when you're talking about storage, the problem is that you always want archival storage. And when you do sort of hack together peer-to-peer storage things, they really aren't going to have good archival guarantees at all, because it turns out time passes at the same rate for everybody. And
I think, like he said 20 years ago, it was very limited. And that's why BitTorrent was so successful, was because everyone was kind of contributing these files and you were grabbing it from all over the place. I think the question and what was mentioned here was a similar question being asked, like, is that something that Chia will be doing? But I think Bram's response was that internet is so fast and you don't necessarily need to go that route to split up these files. At least that's what I gathered from this little segment right here. So we're gonna go on to the next one, and the very last one was pretty interesting because I felt like this was a huge jab to a lot of the contributors and people who believed in Chia and wanted to expand it. Not so much with the cat coins or the NFTs, but the forks. All right, so let's hear out what he has to say.
For Bram, over the holidays, we kind of had this little news spike of some interest around Mad Max creating his OpenCL VDF project. He started kicking off both his coin and then his OpenCL VDF that he was doing for the coin, start bringing in GPUs, a few other things to it, and it kind of going off in a whole new direction there. What do you think about his whole project and all the different components he's building for it?
I don't know. We're using proof of space and time because it's better. I don't know what he's doing. I don't view most of these Chia forks as helpful to the project. They're kind of distracting.
All right, so I'm gonna leave it off at that. What he's saying that the Mad Max had created and the Mad Max is very popular amongst these Chia farmers, right, including myself, because it definitely reduced the time to make a single plot. Now Mad Max has been working on a project where he's creating his own coin, and somehow I didn't even know this until I heard it from this AMA, is that he's trying to implement GPU mining into that factor. And of course Bram's response is that I don't know what the hell you're talking about, because proof space and time is what makes Chia what it is today, not this whole GPU mining stuff. It's supposed to be because it's supposed to conserve energy, not waste more energy going towards it. So imagine if Chia somehow someone was able to write something where we can utilize GPU mining. Doesn't that defeat the whole purpose of Chia? I mean, I think it is. But let me show you guys really quick. Now, Bram did mention that all these forks would be, it is a distraction from the actual project. Now, when he mentions forks, we're looking at a ton of them. And I think there was even more prior. Some of the projects I was actually on, Goji I was on, Flax I was on, HDD coin I was on, and there was a Doge Chia that I don't even see. A Flora? No, I didn't do Flora. I spoke about Flora. There's Chain Green. There's a whole bunch of them. So basically he's saying that all of these are just there's Doge Chia right here. All of these are just a distraction. But I do know some people who actually still mine or farm the forks because there's a somewhat of a monetary value to it, to recoup some of the costs that they spent buying hardware, hard drives, and other equipment to fund the whole Chia project. So that's definitely a big blow from Bram not supporting these forks. But to be really honest, if it's not XCH, then it's not Chia. right? That's as simple as it is. You can create all these plots, but if you don't use it to farm Chia and you're using it to farm these forks, that's two separate things. But if you're using it to farm Chia and these forks at the same time, these forks are not relevant to the Chia project and where and the direction that they're trying to take it, right? So let's just say Chia doesn't exist anymore as a team, as a company, or whatever it is. The forks exist. And let's just say no one's farming Chia anymore. The forks are not gonna, you know, keep Chia alive. Only Chia XCHs can keep Chia alive. I think that's ultimately what is being said here, that the forks are just distractions and there's not any relevance to the Chia community or ecosystem. All right, guys, this video ran a little long, but if you enjoy content like this, it's just my take on things, and I found it pretty interesting that this AMA had a lot of information on this round that is focused more on answering questions this time. But again, they're not setting any particular dates for any of these things, but they are going to be release a merch site, I guess, so you can use your holiday coins to get 10%. I wish you could just use the holiday coin to actually get a free item opposed to only 10%. What's 10%? That's about like inflation with tax, basically not really getting any discount. But anyway, please remember to hit that like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again really soon. Bye.